Guys, today I'm going to be telling Macy's birth story. If you haven't already watched her full story, I'll go ahead and link it up in the cards down in the description. I don't know if you want to check that out beforehand. I'm not sure if it matters. Anyway, these two videos kind of go hand in hand. But this is just her labor and delivery story, which is kind of short because it went so fast. But so I'll just go ahead and jump into it. So Macy was my third baby. We were team green. We didn't know the gender before birth because we already had Roman and Paige, so a boy and a girl, and we thought it would be fun to be surprised. So we didn't find out the gender through my whole pregnancy. But I had a really strong feeling it was a girl, and one of my doctors kind of slipped up a little bit, but she recovered really well, so I really was convinced that she kind of talked me out of it. I don't feel like she totally blew the surprise, but I really from the beginning felt like it was a girl, and I was right with Roman and Paige, so I felt like my intuition was probably right. But anyway, so we didn't know the gender. About a week before we found out about her Shot diagnosis, so it was a very emotional birth. Lucas is over here. Sorry. So if you hear some baby noises, it's just Lucas. Hi, buddy. Hi. So, you know, we didn't have anybody there. It was just Lee and I. I did hire a birth photographer, though. I hired her months before we even found out about her diagnosis, but it's still something I wanted to document, obviously. So we did hire a birth photographer, and she was supposed to come up when I was between 7 and 8 centimeters dilated and be there from then until about 2 hours after the birth. What are you talking about? Anyway, so I was induced because of gestational hypertension, and I had preeclampsia with Roman, so they just felt like this was probably going to turn into preeclampsia, so we might as well just go ahead and induce. I was already early term, so you know they felt comfortable with that, and so did I. So I have in the past just had Pitocin inductions, but my cervix wasn't dilated at all for her, for this pregnancy, which wasn't exactly normal for me. I was able to just usually go in with just Pitocin because I was already 1 or 2 centimeters dilated. But so they gave me Cytotec, which I'd never had before and will never take again. And my doctor with Lucas's pregnancy tried to tell me it was just, it wasn't the Cytotec, but I don't care. Never taking it again. Don't bring that stuff near me. It just was very intense. So they bring you in, and for 12 hours beforehand, they don't expect you to go into labor during the 12 hours, so they give you 1 dose of Cytotec and it's a pill that they just insert and put up on your cervix. So they give you 3 doses, 1 every 4 hours over that 12-hour period, and then they assume you'll probably move on to Pitocin and whatever. So they gave me 1 dose of Cytotec at about 6 p.m. No, that's not right. I arrived at the hospital about 6 p.m., but you know, it takes time to get checked in. They give you your IV and all this stuff and get everything set up. I think it was about 10 p.m. when they put the Cytotec in. So, you know, you're supposed to just sleep overnight and, you know, get rested up for the whole labor process the next day. But I started having contractions very soon after, and they were really intense. So I got my epidural when I was about at a 3, because I'm all about the epidural. And with Roman and Paige, I had no issues with my epidural. They worked great. I didn't feel anything. I had perfectly lovely births, pain-free after getting my epidural. So I got my epidural when I was about 3 centimeters dilated, and it worked for a while. I was able to sleep, and then I remember it was about 5 in the morning so I forget, because I'm telling this about 2 years later. The details are a little fuzzy. I wish I would have recorded this sooner. But yeah, so I went in on April 28th, 2015, and she was born on the 29th. And so I got my epidural sometime after midnight when I was 3 centimeters. So I slept for a couple hours, and I remember just being awoken by my water breaking, which I had never experienced before. I think with Roman and Paige, they broke my water after I had my epidural. And it feels a little funny, but it wasn't this like pop and gush. Sorry, TMI, but this is a labor and delivery video. You should know by the title that it's going to be TMI. But so it just woke me from my sleep, and I was like, I'm pretty sure my water just broke. So they came, like I had blankets over me and everything. They came and checked. Yep, sure enough, your water's broken. And they checked me then, and I was 8 centimeters. No, I was 7 centimeters. And so I was like, oh, I gotta text the birth photographer and tell her, I'm 7 centimeters, that she should start making her way up to the hospital. And I figured she had plenty of time, because that's how it was with my previous deliveries. So I'm 7 centimeters dilated, and at this point I'm starting to get really uncomfortable. I'm feeling my contractions again, and I'm feeling a ton of pressure and like just pain I've never felt before, because with my previous deliveries I didn't feel pushing or anything. It was magical. So I didn't feel any pain. So I'm just moaning and trying to breathe through it, and I didn't prepare for any of this, because I don't have deliveries I don't have natural, deliveries without an epidural, without pain medication. So I'm not prepared for this at all. I'm just in intense pain. And the nurse, so there were, a couple nurses, and then there was a resident. My hospital's a teaching hospital. So there was a resident there, but she checked me and determined that I was, 8 centimeters, and this was just a couple minutes, because I'm like, you need to check me. Something's going on. I'm in intense pain. And so I think they checked me again, and I was maybe at like 9 centimeters. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is moving really quickly. So my MFM, my doctor, she was not on my side of the hospital. And my hospital is like an old hospital that's got lots of twists and turns and lots of elevators that are old and slow. So, sorry. So it wasn't just like a quick hop on the elevator and go up. So they're telling her, she needs to be on her way. And she is stuck in an elevator. Not stuck like it's broken, but, it's taking a long time, or you have to wait a long time for the elevator to get there. So the resident, she's got her gloves on and her mask and everything, but she just, you can tell, she does not want to deliver this baby. She is not prepared to do this alone. I'm sure she could. She's been trained, but she didn't want to, and I don't blame her. But so I'm still laying flat, because I was sleeping. This has all been maybe 15, 20 minutes. And I'm still laying flat. My legs are kind of together. I'm not like up in stirrups or anything like that. Nobody's checked me again. So I'm still laying there. So I'm in just crazy pain. And I say, I need to sit up. I need to move my legs or open my legs. And as soon as I open my legs and kind of sit up a little bit, the baby just comes out right on the bed. And I was just shocked, because I didn't think that was going to happen. I just knew I was really uncomfortable. And while my epidural wasn't working well, it probably was helping a little bit. It wasn't like it had completely worn off. And I knew I was close to delivering, and I didn't want to get another dose of my epidural and then not be able to feel anything and push. And then, you have to wait longer after delivery until your legs kind of come back. So I didn't want an extra dose of my epidural. So I felt a lot of it, but not necessarily like it had completely worn off, or someone who'd given natural childbirth. Where are you going? Are you trying to roll off the bed? So anyway, she's just born right on the bed. And I hear her cry, and I see the resident's face, and she's just in total shock. My doctor had not made it there. The birth photographer had not made it. It was just Lee and the resident and a nurse. And it was just crazy. It was just crazy. So she had her cord wrapped around her neck a couple times, and I remember Lee saying that the resident just was kind of shaken up by the whole situation, and Lee was like, "Are you gonna unwrap it?" You know, and she was just kind of like fumbling around, and I remember him saying like, "If she wasn't gonna hurry up, I was gonna unwrap that cord myself." So it was just crazy. And so they get the cord unwrapped from her neck, and then they immediately take her over and intubate her. And I was not prepared for that at all. Like I mentioned in her whole Macy's story video. Sorry, memory card was full. But so they intubated her and took her directly down to the NICU, which I was not at all prepared for a NICU stay. And that's kind of the end of the labor and delivery story. Buddy, hey. You know, I didn't get to see her until I went down to the NICU, and like I said in her Macy's story video, I didn't get to hold her for about, 2.5 weeks, until she was 2.5 weeks old. So it was just a really emotional time after her delivery. And if you're interested in hearing that story, like I said, the link is in the description. But yeah, so that is her birth story. It's definitely my most eventful and craziest delivery. Like I said, I only had the 1 dose of Cytotec and no Pitocin, nothing after that. They decided I was progressing well enough on my own that I didn't need the 2nd and 3rd doses of Cytotec, and definitely no Pitocin. And so I refused it for my delivery with Lucas, which I'll film a video for him as well. So yeah, it was an intense delivery. By my standards, I'm used to pretty calm, easy inductions. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to comment down below. I'd love to hear your birth stories. I love listening to other people's birth stories, and I definitely listen to like the Birth Hour podcast, and I just love listening to those. So yeah, if you feel like sharing, leave your birth story down in the comments. And if you want to see more from us, please consider subscribing, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I've been feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall. But tonight I'm letting it go. Spend my coin for sure.